All right, if you are just joining, you're watching the Morning Bugle, reaching you from NCBN headquarters. And like we said earlier, we are going to be joining our guests via phone. We tried to connect virtually, but due to one or two technical issues, we couldn't. Now we will be joining him. He is Princewill Eziukwu, a development economist, to talk about the recent report by the National Bureau of Statistics, giving us the data of the GDP growth rate we recorded in the first quarter of 2021. Good morning, Mr. Princewill.
Good morning, and thank you for...
It's great to have you join us this morning. Now, let's take a look at the report that was released by the National Bureau of Statistics. And when you place that side by side with the other figures that we are having in other sectors, how much progress do you think we have made so far?
Yeah, good morning once again, and good morning, viewers. I'm happy that we are recording the second second consecutive growth. First happened in quarter 4 of 2020, and we're also having 51% in Q1 of 2021. I think it's good. It's impressive, though the growth rates might be small, might be abysmal, but I think it's fine. It represents progress.
Okay, let's talk about the sectors that have led to this shift. We saw here that the manufacturing sector and even agriculture, amidst all the insecurity, have also shifted positively. For me, it shines light on the potentials of this sector, but also for some people, there is a lot of doubt as to how this is possible. Can you shine light on that?
Yeah, I think it's a good one. It's a good one that agriculture at this point in time is turning out positive. I'm impressed, like I said before. We also have manufacturing at the same time, that is industries, at the same time turning out positive goods. It's good because despite the, various issues, various structural issues, debilitating some of these growth. So I think it shows that there is potential, there is possibility for expanded growth, there is low-hanging fruit that we are not taking advantage of. For instance, imagine the growth we could have experienced in the agricultural subsector if there was improved security. So imagine if the growth that we could have experienced in that same sector, if there was a strong linkage between production and the market. So imagine also, these are, despite these challenges, challenge of security, challenge of increased restiveness, in some of these crop growing areas, and also even in the sea, the issues, the climate issues, and what have you, that are debilitating against the fishery, and so a whole lot. Then you also have the issue of, lack of access to finance, which at this point in time is very critical when you compare how much the interest rate is, together with the inflation rate. So we see that there are issues, structural issues in the economy that are fighting against some of these factors. To me, I see them as Nigerians' only high growth industries. And when I say that, if you look at the report that they just released yesterday, you see that the oil and gas that will keep making noise of contributed less than 9.3% to general GDP. So the non-oil is doing over 90-something. So it shows you that our potential lies in the non-oil and not just the oil. So to me, whenever I see a GDP growth that is driven by non-oil, that is driven by agriculture, I'm always happy.
All right, so another issue is to look at the pace of growth that we are experiencing. You know, Nigeria is barely just trying to recover from the recession that we experienced in the last quarter of, the third quarter of 2020. About the pace, what is the pace that, you know, we are expecting to grow at? And going by this pace, how far do you see us going, at least before the end of this year, if we are to go like this?
Okay, so if I may take a baseline, of course, before I give my own prediction, I must be able to place that on something. The IMF said Nigeria will grow at the end of this year by 1.7%. So 1.7. So if you just suppose that we have 3 quarters to go, so what are the driving forces of this possible 1.7 growth? Predicated on the price of oil in the international market, which at this point in time we are not making good use of, because the price goes up in the international market. The government pays more on trying to subsidize it for the masses. And at this point in time, the government cannot say, okay, let us remove subsidy completely. That will throw the price to over 380, 400, as you know, said by the NMPC. So if oil grows, okay, we may achieve some level of growth in that industry. But for me, I think the highest we can do, I don't see us doing up to 2% this year. If we are going at this rate, if you look at the industry, you look at agriculture, so this is quarter one, so many people are still harvesting the ones of last year, and in some places, Q1 is always the period for planting. Then second quarter, some crops that, whose gestation period is 3 months, 4 months, will start entering the market. So we expect further increment in agriculture as harvest seasons, are turning out. So that's one. Two, for manufacturing, of course, if we pray that some of these COVID waves, that we are hearing here and there, will have little impact, then we expect the industries to continue on this trajectory of growth. Then, for other components such as fishery and what have you, so we have to continue to x-ray what is happening in the international market. And I think one of the factors that is very critical that we need to look at will now be the inflation and the interest rate. The interest rate, we expect the CBN, to return to at least see if they can push forward and ensure some level of stability. Then we now expect the Ministry of Finance to try to pull in resources into the construction subsector. So in this report, if you look at the contribution of the construction subsector, is very minimal. And we know that construction industry is is a very serious catalyst to any economy. So when I saw the report, I was so interested in what is happening to construction. So construction, quarrying, and all the rest of them. So as soon as we're able to pull in resources into that, if you pull in resources into construction, then automatically it has a way of, pulling in other ones. So it has a way of increasing the services sector, which is the insurance and financing. Then at the same time, the quarrying and supplies. So I think that is one area that the government also have a low-hanging fruit they can actually, achieve. We understand the paucity of funds being experienced by both government, both in the state and at the central. But then I think those angles are the areas that we need to pay more attention on.
All right, let's talk quickly about oil, even though I can tell that you're more of an advocate for the non-oil sectors. Just a few days ago, we had a suggestion after some sort of meeting. Governors committee came together, looked at our economy, and made a suggestion that we should completely deregulate the oil sector. Now, the head of that committee El-Rufai specifically mentioned that this, he believes, would be the way forward as far as taking our economy to a better place. Now, removing subsidy would mean that Nigerians will be paying something between 345 naira to 425, about that figure. I'm sure I'm not giving you the exact figure, but I'm sure you've seen that report itself. So just the possibility of people paying as high as 400 naira is very, very disheartening for a lot of Nigerians who are already struggling as it is. But this is presented as a way to move our economy to a better place. Subsidy removal has been tagged as the way forward. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, thank you for this question. For me, that is not the way forward. That is not the way forward. Deregulation, I expect. But we are not, addressing the problem. The problem is that we have crude oil and we are importing refined fuel. That is the problem. So if you must address an issue, you must be able to identify the problem. See, if you deregulate and you continue to import, Nigerian people are paying for the inefficiency of having the raw material in location and localization of business. That is Economics 101. Right? Now, the first thing that determines location and localization of the business is raw material, source of raw material. Now, we have the raw material here. Why is our refinery not working? Why are we not paying attention? See, if I become the president today, my number one priority will be to fix the refinery or to construct a new refinery. Smaller countries are doing that. Why we are saying deregulate? Because that is only the most simplistic action to take. Well, why? How? Now, you deregulate. They are not paying for fuel. The governments are not paying for fuel. If you look at their policy, if you look at their decision, they said to solve the paucity of funds for government to distribute. So the problem is not the challenge that the masses are having. The challenge, the policy they are trying to, the objective they are trying to achieve is to raise more funds to the government. Wow! If you deregulate, the government will no longer pay, pay money, in form of subsidy. The NNPC with the money they've been using for subsidy, they will now send it to FAC for allocation. Very simple. So the masses, you and I, will not get the brunt of the system inefficiency. So what we are saying is very simple. Let the refinery start working. Now, if the refinery starts working, we will not be exposed to the forces of foreign exchange. Right? That factor will automatically be removed from Nigerians' petroleum industry. Because you get the crude oil from Imo State, from River State, from Bayelsa State, right? You refine it locally, so you are not putting in any foreign content. So foreign exchange there is no factor. You are not going to factor in foreign exchange. So we can sell comfortably at 150, for instance. We can sell comfortably at 100 naira. Now, so government can now export crude oil and earn foreign currency. So the foreign currency that will, at this point in time, get from the export will be channeled into importing other products that we do not have the capacity to produce locally. So to me, deregulating, whenever people say that, let's just deregulate. How can you deregulate something you have no capacity, no control over? You can't deregulate that.
So
you can only deregulate something you have, a control. So you can, if not, the forces of demand and supply with our weak currency, we make things so unbearable. Imagine if a liter of fuel today is 400 naira. What do you think will be the prices of common goods and services in the local market? It's going to be high. So we are talking about inflation of 18%. I'm telling you, we'll be hitting about 20-something%.
Okay, Princewill.
Now, when you are hitting about 20-something%, I tell you, no foreign investor will be willing to invest in your economy.
All right.
So I think the problem is to address Why are we not refining locally?
Exactly, which is the question I want to pose to you. Why do you think that this is so difficult to achieve? I mean, we've been talking about fixing refineries for decades. We've heard that in political campaigns, virtually every campaign season. We've heard about how, we've had promises that, okay, our refineries will be fixed and there and that. And then recently, we've also heard that, look, government needs funds to fix those refineries, and that the first step to it is to remove the fuel subsidy on the argument that government spends about ₦1 trillion annually on subsidy alone, and they are saying that, well, they have to remove that subsidy for them to reserve funds to be able to fix those refineries. So is that the case? What's the problem? What is the impediment to fixing those refineries?
So thank you for that question. What I see as a problem is the political will. See, the political will is what I see. It's lacking. See, I don't believe that the president of Nigeria is willing to fix the refinery of Federal Republic of Nigeria. If the president said, I'm going to fix, of course, the president is the minister for petroleum, right? Now, if the president decide and say, today, I'm going to fix Nigerian's refinery, I tell you that only that, political will make things happen. So the question now is, other countries that have their refineries running, does it mean that they have more technically sound people more than us? Does it mean that they have more crude raw material more than us? No. The answer is no. The answer is no. We need the political will. Now, and when I mean the political will, I mean that we want a system where the government takes that. You can say you're going to do a turnaround. You can say you're going to do a repair. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how many times have we done turnaround? And it has not. I even read a report that said that the current refineries, the one in Eleme, I schooled my primary school was actually around that Eleme petrochemical. So I know the football pitch where I play ball is near the refinery. OGS Okrika. So I pleased when I was growing up, I saw that refinery. I saw the business around there. So what I'm trying to say is that we need the political will. The attention right now is diverted to Dangote Petroleum, Dangote Refinery. That is the attention. And all these things, it's been done to water the ground for when Dangote Refinery will just kick off. Let us tell ourselves the truth.
But then again, having an investor or a businessman from the country take up that bit of the work to do, it's not necessarily a bad thing, isn't it? Now we're seeing a lot of Nigerians have reservations about it, and you appear to be part of those Nigerians who have reservations about him. Why exactly is that the case?
Exactly. So the reservation is this, right? The Federal Republic of Nigeria should have their refineries working. Aliko Dangote should also, go ahead, build his refinery, complementing government's refinery. It should be complementary. We should not depend on him. Is that dependence that I'm not comfortable with? What I'm saying, because if there is no competition, if we unnecessarily build bottlenecks and monopolies, the economy will not grow. That is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that Nigeria's refinery should produce. What is the quantity that Dangote will be producing per day? Will it be sufficient for Nigerians? If it's sufficient, why should one single man, have the monopoly, if I may use that word now, to refine? So, what is our concern? Our concern is that because he's going to create jobs. He's going to reduce the quantity, even the amount of subsidy that the federal government will be paying when he finally comes on board. I agree. It's well appreciated. But my concern is we should not depend on him alone. The government should go ahead with their refining of petroleum in Nigeria. Then why you want to complementing government efforts?
Okay.
So that is where all our concern is coming from.
Okay, so
another economy. Sorry, no economy grows, without competition. You agree with me? When it was only MTN, that was in the communication sector in Nigeria. You know how much it was for you to buy a SIM card?
Okay, yeah, competition is very key.
2002.
Yes, Princewill. Well, we thank you so much. I'm afraid we have to end this because of our time. We thank you for joining and sharing your thoughts with us. We hope that you will join us another time for discussion on these issues. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
All right. Have a great day.
I mean, these are issues that one cannot really exhaust. There are so many angles to this conversation. We've been talking about the PIB, for instance, as a policy that will help, change the whole industry of oil and gas. A bill that has been, at the National Assembly for years, almost 20 years, and we've been going back and forth over it. So these are policy issues, sometimes that are lagging, and a whole lot of other dimensions to the conversation.